Hello, I'm Ben. Welcome to the channel. So today I want to talk a little bit about evil and about backstabbing. And since we're going to talk about backstabbing, I want to show this dagger. This is a piece that I had commissioned by a gentleman who's immensely gifted. If you look at it, it is what they call Damascus. You see how the blade has those squiggly lines, and so does the handle. You get that from one of two methods. The ancient method, which is how this was done, is you fold the steel over and over and over again, and each layer will put one of those lines in the blade or in the metal. And this one is fantastic. It's one of my favorite pieces, and it's rather large. It is similar to the size of an Arkansas toothpick, which is what I requested. We use these in the States sometimes to take pigs. So quite an incredible piece. But the reason I want to talk about that today is we cannot escape evil in America at this time. It is so prevalent in the news. It's so prevalent in all the stories that are being pushed on us, where just lies and deceit and backstabbing. And, a couple years ago, I met a gentleman in business that, I had a nickname in my head for him, and it was Leave No Bridge Unburned. This person would burn every bridge, every person that had entrusted business or anything to this person would end up ruining the day, because he would go back on every deal. He would step sideways on every vendor. He would sidestep every customer service aspect. And it was one of those things where you realize at that point that things are far more clear than what you think they might be. And we talk about the Bible, and we talk about how evil is and how the devil is walking the earth as a roaring lion, seeking out those who he may devour. And if you look at the headlines just from this week, it's absurd. Okay, I posted something, and I know people are tired of me talking about Trump. I'm aware of that. I'm tired of talking about it too. But I have to highlight evil when I see it. And so he's got a woman in his ear that is very evil. I've mentioned her a few times, so I won't mention her again. But I think if you look at the news and you watch and you see what's going on, specifically with folks who have been doing things that are not okay. I'll talk first about Ben Shapiro. He used to be a debate type person that would do performative debates where he's getting out and arguing a point with facts, and that's the only thing that he had in common with Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was not a fan of his, and when Charlie Kirk died, Shapiro made the comment that he would pick up the bloody mic if they wanted him to and carry Charlie Kirk's message, which he could not be further from anyone that somebody would want to carry that message, because Charlie Kirk was a Christian. What he did was motivated from a Christian standpoint. And I think it's fairly clear now that Shapiro is a Zionist, that he puts Israel first over America. He's definitely not pro-Christian. Even had people look into making it anti-Semitism for people to say things like Christ is King. So here is my 2 cents on that. I'm a Christian. I'll say what I want because I'm an American. And no person in any role, period, is going to stop me from saying what I want. Now, in America, we have freedom of speech, and that is guaranteed in our amendments. Well, in our Constitution and our Bill of Rights under the Constitution. There's actually been suggestion that people wanted to change our freedom of speech and limit it and call things hate speech that are not. For instance, what I just said, there's people that are motivated to try to actually jack with our rights in America because they serve someone else. Ben Shapiro is one of those people. And I think what's wonderful about it is everyone's figured that out. He's lost 85% of his viewership in 1 year. And so you have to understand the business model that he runs by. I get paid nothing. I have a very small channel. I get paid nothing from doing my YouTube videos. It's stuff that I am studying, that I enjoy. That's where the channel came from. I like discussing these things and sharing Bible verses to hope give some light to some things. I've gotten some feedback recently of family members and friends that are watching my channel, and it has helped, so I'm happy to hear that. I get messages from strangers sometimes that say, hey, you really helped me out with this. That was great. Thanks for your time on this. So that's all the motivation I need But I'm motivated to do this more along the lines of I have nephews and a niece that are very young, and as they all grow up, should something happen to me, they could get to know me through these videos and what I stand for, and they'll all get a portion of my library or whatever at some point if I'm gone. So they'll get to know me in that way. But I want to talk about Ben Shapiro, and you can look at Turning Point USA the same way, okay? And I'll talk about a Christian's perspective and a business perspective. If you don't know yet what I do professionally, I am in the insurance and consulting business. So I do business consulting professionally for almost 30 years. I would go to problem locations and fix those locations and grow them up through best practices and shared practices for those businesses that suggest that these should be more successful. I really do put the people first. My people were the most important, so safety was most important. Policies came second to that because you want to make sure you're taking care of your company. If you're taking care of your company, you're taking care of your shareholders. And if you're doing all these things in a righteous way, then you are using your daily work in service to God. So you're working the job as if you are working it for God, which the Bible says that's how we should work a job, that we should go in and work like we're working for God. Well, what Mr. Shapiro has done, he's gone from this debate type standing point to trying indoctrination through his speeches and his monologues on his channels and on his platform. And so he has driven away 85% of the people that watched his channel and paid for his channel. And this is how they paid for it. So basically these channels sell advertising space for the numbers of views they get and subscriptions they get and followers they get. So it's very powerful for somebody to be in front of 1 million people or 2 million people a day and have a couple of 100,000 subscribers, if not more. I have not looked at that to see what the numbers are. I just know that 85% is rather large to lose in 1 year's time. And so when you see something implode like that, what you want to do is go and take a look at what the issue is. And this guy solely, single-handedly, is destroying the business that he spent years building. And once you've driven those people away, they won't come back. So let me talk about business. The next thing you want to do is protect your talent, right? So a tenured person that's talented in any business, if you look at manufacturing, production specifically, if you have a person that's really good at a production job and has got the job and has really hit their sprint and every day can come in and do the same thing every single day because they're a consummate professional that is tenured, it is extremely hard for a new person to get to that point. So I'm saying that because if you have that going on, you want to protect that, because when you push that away, once it's gone, it's gone. And it would take 2 or 3 people to fill in that person's role, because they all have quality issues to begin with, so there'll be a problem with the product, etc. They'll have to find their groove and get to that point before they can move forward. So even in production, it's extremely important that you appreciate your talent. Well, when it comes to the layoffs at the Daily Wire, when it comes to the issue with this situation specifically, they ran off their talent one by one. And they did not focus on replacing the talent. Instead, they used a look at me process, which you'll get a lot of interest in that to begin with, but ultimately, other people draw different talent. So, for example, Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens used to be part of that. When those people left, they then started successful channels elsewhere, which drew a big chunk of that viewership away from the initial employer. And when you're not able to see that, then it will hurt you farther beyond any expectation. So I think that's what they're seeing now. The layoffs this past week hit their Nashville headquarters pretty significantly, where even parts of his own team were let go. I think the highest role that I saw that was let go was a director. And when you think about that, these people have been there for a while. So these are tenured people that they're losing, that they won't gain back again. So they lost the talent, and now they're losing the tenured people. So it looks like that the writing's on the wall for that group. Now, yeah, some businesses can turn around and do those things, but in an influence business where you're trying to influence the viewpoints of others, it's very specific that you toe the right line. So typically he towed the conservative line, but most conservatives in America are Christian. Now, there's a lot of conservatives that are not Christian. They may be Muslim or Jewish or whatever it may be, because conservative viewpoints, all the major religions around the world pretty much have the same viewpoints, but we believe different things spiritually. And I think what's happening is very spiritual. I don't think, for example, the assassination of Charlie Kirk and his wife being put in that position and what his company has come to represent since he was dead and gone. He realized at some point what he built had gotten evil. He realized at some point that he was in harm's way because of it, because it could no longer be who he was and continue to support what he had built, because what he had built was a monster and it was turning on him. And ultimately, excuse me, he said he was concerned that someone was going to try to kill him. He said this the day before he was killed. And the fact that it is an assassination that's still open and nobody's trying to figure out who did it for real other than Candace Owens, I think that screams a lot. I think it definitely yells that this is not normal. There's something else going on. So let's talk about Shapiro and how he's gone after Candace Owens and how he's gone after everybody that's left and said hateful things. He's gone after everything they've done. He's sued them multiple times. They found out recently through Candace Owens stuff that one of the lawyers that keeps suing her and all this other is his brother-in-law, works for that law firm. So he's attached to them. And Candace Owens mentioned on her show today that people were posting about the lawsuit where they were suing her before she even knew about it. And so that shows that there's accomplices in that whole thing. And I don't want to get into that. I just want to go to the Bible and see what the Bible says and see how easily predictable this is. So Romans 12:17-21 says, "Do not repay anyone evil for evil. Be careful to do what is right in the eyes of everyone. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. Do not take revenge, but leave room for God's wrath. On the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him something to drink. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Now, this is from the NIV version of the Bible. This passage emphasizes leaving vengeance to God and responding to wrongdoing in kindness. And the reason Candace Owens is doing so well and is only just going to continue to do better is because she's living by biblical rules. She's living by these rules because she is a Christian. And you can see very clearly that she takes joy in what she's doing because what she's doing is righteous. She's pointing out wrongdoing. She has facts in everything she says. And it's why her channel continues to grow. And it's why his is now plummeting and most likely will not return to its former glory. He's probably seen the better days of what he's had. Proverbs 17:13, which is the book of wisdom in the Bible, guys. If you're not familiar with the Bible, if you read Proverbs just, from the first verse to the last, it is just full of wisdom from, what came before. And it's documented wisdom that you will see play over and over in your lifetime. And it says, if anyone returns evil for good, evil will never leave his house. So let me say that again. It says, if anyone returns evil for good, evil will never leave his house. This is warning of the consequences of repaying good with evil. So I'm saying that because Candace Owens helped build his company. She helped show him the way in what earned trust. And see, earned trust is what I really wanted to talk about today. And when you're talking about stabbing someone in the back, he has done everything he can to harm her and her business. They've come up with fake news about her husband, a DUI event where he hit somebody, which was completely false. They attacked her when she was on vacation with her family. There was one YouTuber that did a loud video. I clicked on it because he said Candace Owens had been canceled. And of course I watched that video, and there was no value in what he said. It was just lies. And basically he just quoted a bunch of nonsense that other people had quoted. And I watched this video and I'm thinking, this is evil. She did nothing to you. You're out there posting these things. So the Bible is very specific. The Bible condemns repaying evil for good, portraying it as a moral failing that you do this. And if you do, it disrupts justice and righteousness. Instead, believers are called to overcome evil with good, forgive and show mercy, leave vengeance to God, and act with integrity and peace. None of these people are acting with integrity and peace. So go back to my previous video where I posted about Donald Trump's tweet or whatever he did on his Truth Social. To imagine being the most powerful person in the world, and what you decide to do is take the time to tweet to someone who has an internet program. That's what you decide to do with your time, because you have evil people in your ear telling you that you should. Ultimately, he's going to answer for that. Okay, so when he does move on from this world and is in front of whatever it is that he worships, he's going to have to answer for this. And if it's the Christian God, he's going to have a hard time, because he told everyone he was a Christian. He told everyone he was going to act that way. And none of the actions sent have been that way. So my suggestion to everyone is that they watch Candace Owens' show today, or it was posted yesterday, I believe, if you're interested in the details on this. But let's think about the J.P. Morgan nonsense. This is a case that a gentleman brought forward saying that a female executive had put him in a corner basically and made him do things that are inappropriate. He's a married man, and said things about his wife, etc., etc. If you wait a few days before you post and jump on the bandwagon, it's now come out that it most likely is fraud. And he made this up, that he actually said that his father had passed away and he took bereavement time, which the company pays for. It's paid time off, basically. He took bereavement time to work on this lawsuit as opposed to actually be on bereavement for his father's death, because his father indeed did not die. That's what I'm talking about. That's evil. It's dishonesty. So he will ultimately reap that and will have to deal with the consequences coming from that. So I wanted to say this today, that there's a lot going on in the news that if you're paying attention, you can see that the Bible is true. The Bible is real. I think that's wonderful every day, is that during these days of turmoil, which every day has been this way in the history of man, but now everything is far more visible. So it's easy to see what's going on. Philippians 4:6 says, stop stressing over what's out of your control. Pray and leave it to God, and he'll take care of it. So for Christians, that's what we're supposed to do. If you watch Candace Owens, there's no better example of a person doing this than what she's doing. She clearly shows no stress about this. She has lawyers for a reason, and she's not losing sleep over this. If you watch Shapiro and you watch his people, if you watch Laura Loomer and how she posts things, it shows you that they're clearly out of control and they're coming after people. And Laura Loomer's stuff is specifically evil because she calls people names. She uses foul language. She's clearly not someone of any good repute. She definitely is not someone that has any kindness or righteousness in her. And constantly she's attacking Candace Owens. So when I see stuff like that, it makes me go, right? The other thing too, when you lay stuff at God's feet and you're praying about it, you don't have to worry about it anymore. 1 Samuel 1:19 says, God never forgets your prayers or your tears. He sees you, he hears you, and he's working, even in the waiting. So you have to wait for a while. Sometimes things take a little time. So the Daily Wire specifically, I've got the notes here, cuts staff as the YouTube views plunge by 85%. They've announced significant layoffs, with independent trackers estimating about half of its workforce is affected. Today's numbers say it's around 60%. Amid a steep decline in Shapiro's online audience. The cuts, concentrated in Nashville, come alongside disputed claims over the scale of job losses in a follow of a year of financial strain and prior downsizing. Audience analytics show that Superior's YouTube channel has lost roughly 85% since its peak monthly views of late 2023, with earnings and podcast rankings also falling. So I say that, and to say things always come around. Okay, they always come around. Even in our politics, you're starting to see those things fall. Just yesterday, I read the gentleman that was shot at the first Trump assassination attempt, where the firefighter was killed. Currently, that gentleman's wife, Helen Comparatori, has made an explosive claim in a recent interview expressing deep suspicion that the shooter, Thomas Crooks, did not act alone and had help from higher up. Her statement is resonating questions of security failures and a possible coordination of attacks behind the July 13th, 2024 attacks. So apparently there's some proof that's been found, and they're follow the money is what I always say. So that's working. But one that really caught me was the fact that a Grammy-winning Fugees rapper, I listened to the Fugees back in the 90s. They had some good music. Prize Mitchell reports to federal prison to begin a 14-year sentence for illegally funneling millions of foreign money into Obama's 2012 campaign. So listen to this. Obama's not in trouble. The rapper is. So you see what I'm saying? These evil politicians, these evil people that control people based on their emotions, and they get out of hand and can't control what it is they're doing. These evil people at the top don't ever pay any price, right? The Epstein files are a fine example of that. Here it is again from 2012. This cat's going to serve a 14-year sentence for illegally supporting Obama's 2012 campaign with foreign money. Isn't that interesting? I specifically think that foreign money should not be able to participate in American politics. If that was a law, which it should be, Israel couldn't buy all these politicians that they have bought. You can look up online and see who has been paid by Israel, who's taken money by Israeli funds. And it's interesting. All the guys screaming the loudest about how people are mistreating Israel are the ones taking the majority of the funds. And it's very simple. If you think genocide is okay, you are evil. What has happened in Gaza is genocide. At one point, it resembled a war. It does not resemble that anymore. Lebanon is what I mentioned. It's a Christian country. Yes, as the gentleman pointed out, there is a growing Muslim population there. But hey, there's a growing Muslim population in America. That's not the point that I was trying to make. What I was trying to make in that video was saying that this is a known Christian country, and we are not helping protect them. Instead, we're letting a Jewish country attack them for no reason. There was nothing that was a catalyst for them being attacked. They're being attacked by a nation, a foreign aggressor. There was a time when America was just. There was a time when America was righteous. And if people were attacking a country, we would go help defend that country. Well, those times seem to be long gone. It seems to be now we're the ones that attack, and we're now allies with ones that attack. So at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, how can we be the good guys if that's what's going on? So I wanted to mention that today. A lot of backstabbing, a lot of evil going on. I wanted to show this beautiful piece. Just because I think it's absolutely beautiful. You know, if you are into collecting things, mine is weaponry. I've liked things like that my entire life. But there are some books I want to leave you with that talk about demonic influence and evil specifically, because that's what we're dealing with. And these names, I'm using these names and these specific stories because that's what's in the headlines of our news. At the end of the day, Christ is king. He's still on the throne. He will control what happens. All things will work in according to his will. That's what the Bible tells us, right? So when you're dealing with some of these things, there's a couple of books, two of which are very new. These just came out from Dan Schneider over the last year or two. One, Spiritual Warfare. Q&A and talks about priest and laity. That's a book I would recommend that you read first, because then maybe you get a little bit of idea about what we're talking about and what's going on specifically and how demonic influence is present. I'm reading another book about that right now. I haven't made a judgment on the book yet. If I like it, I'll share it on the channel. This is a pretty good book, though. It is from a Catholic point of view. So for the Catholics out there, this is one that if you have not read it, you absolutely should. For the non-Catholics, read it anyway so you can get the understanding of what's going on there. Because the Catholic Church has the longest documented history of going after what was specifically demonic. And this is the Liber Christo Method, a field manual for spiritual combat by Dan Schneider, PhD. And it is an excellent book. I haven't finished it yet, but this is an excellent book. It may be one of the better ones on the subject, period. So that's something I would recommend as well. And then there's two oldies that I've had for a while. This is Prayers That Rout Demons and Break Curses by John Eckhart. I would recommend this to everyone. It's got some specific biblical prayers in here that you say to try to remove specific influence if you feel like your life has been influenced by some of these things. Because evil is evil. And if it looks like it and smells like it, that's what you should think that it is. This is one of the better books on demonic influence that I've ever read. It's called Pigs in the Parlor. This book came out, I think, in the early 80s, maybe in the mid 80s. Let me see. Oh, it said even beyond that. It came out originally in 1973. And the last update, this one rather was from 2010. So there's been multiple updates since then. So you might want to take a look at this one too. There's a study guide that's been available for this book. I like this book a lot. It tells you kind of where it comes from, how demons enter, if deliverance is needed, how deliverance is accomplished for others and for yourself, how to retain deliverance, and then groupings of demons. So it goes through the talk all about it, and also how cases of schizophrenia have been healed specifically because of this. And it says all of this still happens today, which I am a firm believer in. It's by Frank and Ida Mae Hammond. So here is that book, Pigs in the Parlor. I know it's kind of shiny. It's the Practical Guide to Deliverance. I would suggest that if you're going to read a book, now this book is going to creep you out in parts. Okay, it's going to show you how people have habitual things that happen to them because this influence has impacted them their entire lives. So that's one that I'd recommend as well. But I want to call out to these headlines and say, guys, this is evil. This is not normal situations that we're dealing with currently. Evil is running rampant. Now it is being corrected. The Ben Shapiro situation is a fine example. Charlie Kirk's assassination and what's about to happen to Turning Point USA, from a Christian standpoint, it's about to fall apart too because of the same situation. You cannot promote evil on the back of good. You just cannot do that. Biblically, it's wrong and it will not stand. But secondarily to that, people can look at things and see. Anytime Erica Kirk speaks, you know she's going to lie. The last one, when she dressed in black and looked like Janet Jackson from the Rhythm Nation video, which is a wonderful video. I was a young man when Janet Jackson did that and put that out, and I thought it was very cool. And at all school dances, they played that song, and everybody got down to it. So I liked it from that. I didn't like it when I saw Erica Kirk doing it. And then she's trying to give people a chastising speech. I don't know where she gets off. I mean, her husband built a fine company. That had nothing to do with her. So I don't know where she gets off trying to talk down to people in some type of condescending manner because she's done nothing to earn a position in the world. She's just standing on the ashes of what her husband built, and it will go away. That's how that works. And if you listen to the people there, one of the things that no one's acting strange about is they've actually said they geocache the events. So starting with Charlie Kirk's funeral, they set up a fence, right? A geo fence. So all the phones that were within a certain area of that, or within a certain distance of that, they counted them and have those people's information because they were there. The gentleman that was speaking said they got something like 277,000 people. They got your information. They know who you are. And basically this information is now going to be used to sell stuff to you based on the viewpoints of Turning Point USA, which is no longer what Charlie Kirk believed. It's farther from that than I'm sure anyone ever would have imagined. So that's as far as I feel like going down that pipeline. It's something that you should look into yourself. Obviously, these are my opinions, but I'll tell you, I can see it clearly. The Bible is real, so it's not surprising to me. I've seen this before in my life. I've seen people who have done things like this, and good always overcomes evil. Always. And it's going to happen here too, and we know that Christ wins in the end also. So anything that we do not see come to fruition, we know how it's going to end. But just want to put my 2 cents out there on that. I appreciate those that are watching the channel and watching the videos. If you like content such as this, please like, please subscribe. I'm Ben. Be good.